Hey guys, this is one half of the Naturals, 3-time NWA Tag Team Champions, and you are listening to Live with Wolfie D.
Hey, this is Jimmy Street, host of the Live and in Color with Wolfie D podcast. Hear the life and times of professional wrestler Wolfie D. From his time in the territories with PG-13 to his time in WWE, ECW, WCW, TNA, and more. Nothing is off limits and nothing will be held back. Thanks again for tuning in. Here he is, Wolfie D.
Welcome once again to Live and in Color with RFK Jr. I'm just kidding. It's Wolfie D. I sound like RFK Jr. still a little bit. I feel a lot better though, Jimmy. Good. But it's still got my voice acting stupid, man. This is taking forever. I'm over the sickness. I feel fine. I'm not coughing and snotty no more, but it's still got my voice. Although it's coming back, it's still got my voice a little bit.
And messing with the moneymaker, man. What's the deal?
No, I'm a podcast guy now, man.
Yeah, I gotta sound good, bro.
I have my voice, man.
Man, speaking of RFK Jr., this political landscape could not be crazier, bro. And I know we don't go into politics too much.
It's a mess, man. It's wild,
bro.
Crazy. It's some great writers, whoever's booking this shit.
Yeah,
but yeah, twist and turn at every corner, lies, deceit, trickery. Oh man,
assassination attempts,
weekend at Bernie presidents. Fucking, I heard a word today when Netanyahu spoke that I just loved. He's talking about the supporters over here. You know, he called them Iran's. Oh, how did he put it? Iran's. Something idiots, Iran's idiots or something, because if you're supporting them, you're supporting Iran basically, because that's who's funding Hamas. But we won't get into all that. But I will tell you, I think this was a Bob and Tom dude. I can't remember his name, but did you ever listen to Bob and Tom?
Yeah. Do
you remember, wasn't there a guy on there that one of the comedians that would come on and his gimmick was, "I'm pissed off"?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember the guy's name, but I wanted to talk about I'm pissed off, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because talking to Ben Jordan just yesterday, man, this dude, you have good insurance, right? Working for where he works, and you pay in every month these premiums, right? Mm-hmm. You worked there for what, 30 years? He said something like
30, 35, something like that.
Yeah. Okay, so you pay in all this money, and then the man comes down with a life-threatening disease, the terminal illness. Okay,
terminal. Yeah.
The doctors find a medication that instead of having to give him the radiation that he was talking about and all that, the hard chemo and all that, some pills that he could take because some sort of the mutation, I don't understand all the terms, but basically he can take these pills and it can, people have had good results with it, right? So instead, before they have to do chemo or radiation or any of that shit. Well, guess what? His fucking insurance won't cover it. And that is fucking bullshit, bro.
It is.
That is fucking bullshit. Yeah. That's just the money that these companies make and all that shit. And then you got somebody who's paid his dues for sure. And the medicine's extremely expensive without the insurance. So you're basically telling someone, I'm sorry, you've used our service for 35 years. You paid us for 35 years to insure you medically, but we can't help you here. Go die. You know, that's fucked up, bro. That's fucked up.
Super, super, super messed up, man. Because the fact that, you know, we got, by the way, our last episode, man, everybody loved it. Ben Jordan, getting great reviews, high in the rankings, numbers great. But, you know, it was great reviews. People were talking about touching, teared them up, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah. But, you know, as we were kind of putting it out, Ben had gotten some good news, right? Yeah. So like the deal is there was some kind of driver mechanism or whatever on his that's causing the cancer to occur in his body, and they found that, and they can. So that was good news. So really, we were thinking, you know, okay, well, Ben's turned a corner.
As we're thinking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then we find out the medicine costs so much. And, you know, Ben's proud. He's not like the kind of guy that wants to do GoFundMes and benefits and stuff. So he's trying to take it all on himself. And I'm sure that's a financial burden that, man,
I guarantee it.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And to this man served in the military. He's a veteran.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. Plus he has a very serious form of cancer, which is a killer, and then he's having to fight this crap with the insurance company to get something paid for that. Honestly, this is the person you should give it to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not right, man. It's not right. And like you were saying earlier, in the political landscape and all that kind of stuff, this is part of it,
Right.
It's just not right, man.
Yeah,
and that's a great point. He's a veteran.
Yeah.
Really?
Right.
God, man. Priorities, man. Priorities. United States of America. Priorities.
Seriously. And
people in charge. And anybody that. Well, I'm not going to get into all that, but anyway. All right, so we got a great show coming up. I'm going to stop ranting and raving.
We do.
But we love Ben, and we hope the best for him. And insurance companies, fuck you. But so great show coming up. Andy Douglas, one of the Naturals, Chase's partner, TNA. Did some work around here, Kentucky boy. Hadn't spoken to him in a long time. He's now a chiropractor, so that's interesting as well.
Cracking necks and cashing checks, baby.
It's like Chase's partners. You got Cassidy, who's ended up doing well for himself. You got Andy, who's now a well-to-do chiropractor. It's like, I'm think I'm gonna go start a tag team with Chase real quick. And
things end up well for you after tag with Chase. Yeah, that's hilarious. Man, that is so funny.
He used to run around with Ron Horner, and he's a sheriff now.
Yeah, Ron Horner's a sheriff. Cassidy Riley is an actor now.
An actor and something else.
He's a nurse.
Yeah, that's it.
Nurse, he's and then Andy's got his own career going with chiropractor. I mean, it seems to me like Chase is
he's a good luck charm.
Yeah, he's a good luck charm. So
if you tag with him.
Maybe not during the time you're tagging with him. I'm sure
that's what I'm saying. I'm just going to start a quick tag team with him, then end it real quick. But just got to do it. That's all. So
I think that's
all right, man. Well, we're gonna take a break, and we'll be right back with Andy Douglas.
Hey folks, to get your official Live It in Color with Wolfie D merchandise, go to prowrestlingtees.com/live Wolfie D. Check it out.
If you're listening to Live and in Color with Wolfie D on Apple Podcast and like what you're hearing, go ahead and leave a 5-star rating. And while you're at it, write a review. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you'd like to hear in the future. It's very important to us and always appreciated. Thanks again.
All right, guys, we're back. And again, I'm just so proud of you for sitting through the commercial break. And you made it, because this is going to be a good episode today, as usual. Got somebody that I haven't spoken to in a long time. And he's doing, he used to crack backs in the ring. And now he's cracking backs for a living again as a chiropractor. So this ought to be an interesting conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the Naturals, Andy Douglas. What's going on, Andy?
Not much, brother. It's good talking to you, man. It seems like it's been a lifetime ago.
Oh, man, it's been, I probably haven't seen you since my last days at TNA, which would have been around 2004. So that's 20 years.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
It don't seem like that long ago, honestly. and to think that I had a career before TNA too. That was even longer.
I'm sure I'm sure you know my story, and I know part of your story, man. It's like a whole decade was kind of a haze. So you just blink and it's like, man, where's that 10 years ago?
And it was gone.
Yeah.
So off the bat, though, I'm curious, man. I want to know, like, what made you, turn to this chiropractic thing?
Man, it was just one of those things. Chase and I saw the light at the end of the tunnel at TNA. Yeah. Each year we renewed our contract. It just got worse and worse and worse. And by the end, we were making no money. I mean, it was insulting. and they took away your independent booking, so you couldn't even do weekend shows on your own, man. So it was just like, they've got nothing for us. We're not doing anything on TV or their pay-per-views. Nobody's really even talking to us at the shows. Brother, I was in, and you know, hindsight's 2020, but I was in the depths of some pretty deep addiction at that time too. So you think your shit don't stink and you're the best of the best. And I go back and I look at some of that stuff and I'm like, man, no wonder they got rid of us. I look like crap. You know, here I am supposed to be on my game for a pay-per-view and I've been up for 3 days. You know, what do you expect?
Yeah.
And so they let us go. And then we tried a few dark matches with New York and just nothing ever came out of it. Everybody, every time we would do something, all the boys, all the management, Cornette was there at the time, I think. Everybody loved us, but the one man making the decisions, John Laurinaitis, didn't like us. So karma for that idiot. He got what he deserved.
Right.
So we never got anywhere with that. And man, and I'm not saying this to crap on anybody in our business or that does anything, but to me, I saw those guys that were in their 50s, 60s, or older in the locker room, and that's all they had. You know, they had no other, they had nothing to fall back on, and they were still showing up to shows with 30 people at an armory for $20 and a hot dog and a handshake. And I was like, man, I can't do that. I can't do that. Like I want more for myself. Yeah. And brother, that's the only reason I got into the business. I got into the business, number one, because I loved wrestling. My grandmother got me watching it when I was a kid. Yeah. It was larger than life superstars like Rocky, Rambo, Conan the Barbarian, but it was real life action every week. And so when I saw that as a kid, I was like, man, that's what I want to be.
And
never in my life thought I would have the opportunity.
Kentucky boy, so that means you was raised on Memphis wrestling then, right?
Yes, all that. Yeah. And then, you know, even Smoky Mountain as I got a little bit older, but yeah, and some NWA, all that, man. Yeah. And so, you know, I never thought that would be obtainable. And then it was. And so when I had the opportunity to do it, it wasn't like a hobby. It wasn't like, hey, I'm going to, you know, work a 9 to 5 and just do some wrestling on the side. I was like, no, I'm going to do this because I want to be the best at it. I want to rise to the top and I want to make a shitload of money at it. You know, I'm not going to lose everything and, you know, miss birthdays and miss all this other stuff and be on the road 24/7 for chump change, you know? So did I do wrestling? Did I get in the business just for the money? No. But I think it's shady when you hear some of these guys do podcasts. They're like, oh, I just did it for the love of the business. Bullshit. Right. You did it because you wanted to make money. And if you didn't do it
or be famous,
you're an idiot. You go get in a car wreck every weekend if you don't want to make money. Right. You know? So I was just like, when it got to that point, I was like, man, I don't think, and again, this is an ego thing. I was deep in my addiction. I thought I was better than I was. And I was like, man, I can't go back to, you know, fairgrounds and armory shows in front of 50 people making $40. I was like, I can't do it. Like, and so I did that for a little bit locally around here because I had nothing else. And then it just got to the point where I was like, what can I do? You know, what can I do? Yeah. And so I had an undergraduate degree, thank God, because I wanted to drop out of that because I was doing wrestling at the time, just getting in. Yeah. But I was around some solid dudes like the Batten twins and Bull Payne and Bo James. And they're like, no, man, you stay in school, get your degree. If this doesn't work out, you got something to fall back on. So thankfully I did that. And it was just like, at the time, man, I had another cousin who was older than me, but had been a chiropractor since the early 80s in a small town and had killed it, you know, just done great. Yeah. And so it's just kind of how I fell into it and just, man, I don't know. It just kind of came out of nowhere. We went toward the campus, and next thing I know, I'm going to school to be a chiropractor. It was crazy.
And that takes what is it? How many years is that?
So you got to have your undergraduate degree, which was 4 years, and then chiropractic college is another 4 years. So here I was like 30, 31, you know, and I was in class with a bunch of these young kids just fresh out of college, man. And yeah, it was rough.
Did I think I read somewhere that you injured yourself, I guess at the end of TNA there, hurt your neck. Is that a shoot? And did that tie into the chiropractor thing at all?
Yeah, that's a shoot, but it had nothing to do with my choice to be a chiropractor.
I was just thought maybe, you know, you're like, you know, had to end up going to the chiropractor and thought, man, yeah, this thing seems like something I'd do.
No, I had gone, so you're kind of right. I see where you're going. I had gone to the chiropractor since I was like in middle school because I had some weird stiff necks things when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I played football in middle school and high school, I had several injuries. So, yeah, I went to a chiropractor my whole life. But what you're talking about was in Birmingham, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
We were wrestling, what's Hernandez and Homicide, LAX or something like that.
Yeah.
And do you remember Hernandez? Big dude.
Yeah, I worked LAX, yeah.
Yeah, so his finisher, the border toss, is like one of the most dangerous moves in our business. He basically just launches you across the ring, says a prayer, and hope for the best. Well, you're supposed to your shoulders, and I just landed. He spiked me on my head.
Oof.
And it was like towards the end of the match. Chase was involved in the finish, but I was supposed to get up and do something. I don't even know what it was. But the momentum of my body rolled me to the floor, and when I went to get up, I couldn't get up. Like I was paralyzed, neck down. And the match continued. They came over, checked on me. They were like, okay, something's not right. Terry Taylor came out. Whoever else was there came out. And like I laid there what seemed like forever. It may have just been like 5-10 minutes. Yeah, I was like legit paralyzed for 5-10, 20 minutes.
Jesus.
Pretty scary.
Wow.
Yeah, that's terrible. But yeah, so you've got your own business it's in Nashville, is that right?
Yeah, in the Madison Rivergate area.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
If anybody wants to go see you, what's the name of it? What's the location?
Yeah, man. So the name of it is Nashville Neck and Back. If you're familiar, it's just north of Nashville, maybe a 10-minute drive from downtown Nashville. Like I said, in the Madison, Rivergate, Goodlettsville area, really close to Hendersonville as well. Got a YouTube channel that's taken off here lately. We do a lot of stuff on there. We've gotten a lot of views and followers here lately, so you can find me on YouTube. Just search Nashville Neck and Back there as well.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So in comparison, would you say that your biggest pop came from a wrestling crowd or a patient's back? Which one?
Probably a wrestling crowd. I would have to say a wrestling crowd, but yeah, we've seen some pretty cool stuff here in the office. But yeah, what's the funniest thing is I've got like a little bit of a half wall of fame with some old pictures and stuff on there. And I'll have patients that have been patients in my office for like 6 months before they even realize that like that's me. They just think I'm some big mark or something. And they'll take a closer look. Because, I had long hair back then. And now I'm about to cut my hair. And they're like, oh, that's you. So then it's a whole conversation after that.
Yeah, no doubt. That's cool, man. So, yeah, you were talking about Bull Payne and Bo James and all the guys. So who was the guys that broke you in and trained you? Was it them?
So, yeah. They didn't train me. So I'm originally from Moorhead, Kentucky, and there was a promotion in the area. And the main guy his name was Killer Kurt. I don't think he wrestles anymore, but he did like a German gimmick.
All right.
But he had he had the most southern Eastern Kentucky accent you can possibly imagine. He goes out there and cut promos as a German. It was the greatest thing. But that's who trained me. Initially trained me to work, but as far as like learning to work on the road, it was guys like that, going down to Kingsport and working with Bo. And man, the Batten twins were on pretty much every show that I was on in the beginning. John Noble, Eddie Browning, man, I was very lucky to come in with guys that would beat the hell out of me, but do so in an educational way, not just stretch me to stretch me. I got a really good early education without being taken advantage of.
Yeah. Same here. I appreciate the guys that taught me that in a like a tough love kind of way.
For sure.
Jimmy, jump into conversation here.
Yeah. So thank you for being on the show with us today, Andy. We definitely appreciate it. You are much easier to get than your tag team partner. We had Chase one time, and we've asked you before too.
Podcast, I just texting back and forth because I don't think he knows how to operate the phone part.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But anyway, so you started out with Porter at Main Event, right? Is that your first promotion?
No. So in Nashville, yes.
Yes, that's what I meant. I'm sorry, in Nashville, but outside of Nashville.
I was in Eastern Kentucky, and I didn't go much more than like 30, 45 minutes to any other shows for a while, other than doing the stuff for Bo James. So it was Johnny. It was Eddie or Johnny, or it may have been both of them, finally convinced me. It was like, man, you've got what it takes. I was green as crap. I weighed 150 pounds soaking wet, but they saw something that nobody else saw. They're like, man, you've got what it takes, but if you want to get noticed, you got to go to Nashville with us. That's where you got to go.
Yeah.
And bro, I was so green. I was like, okay. I had no clue. I didn't know what I was like, just point me in the direction. I'll do what I'm told.
Yeah.
So that was for Porter. And I worked for Porter. I don't know, man. It wasn't long. It was maybe 4 or 5, 6 Saturdays in a row or whatever it was. And at the time, Rick Santel was on that show as well. And he was doing a lot of stuff, helping out with TNA at the fairgrounds, like with backstage stuff, like setting up the ring and all that type of stuff. And he gets me always, man, if you want to get seen, go with me. You know, just let them see you. Let them see who you are. Let them just meet people. I was like, okay, great. Let's do it. And the first day there, I remember walking up. It was like noon. We were helping with the ring. And here comes this big guy waddling up to me. And he looked me up and down. Didn't say a word. And he goes, you don't work for Porter anymore. You work for me. I was like, what the hell was that? Turns around, I walked away, and Rick Santel goes, yeah, so that's Bert Prentice. I guess you work for him now. Next thing I know, I'm working for Bert, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Oh my God. Now,
that sounds like Bert.
Did he make you go outside when you first showed up and go outside and come back in and pay the gate to come back in and watch the show?
No, he didn't. Okay. He didn't do that. But yeah, I still remember that because he didn't introduce himself. I had no idea who he was. Just walked up to me and said, "You work for me now."
So you and Chase, I know I've heard the story. I don't know how much detail I've heard it in, but tell everybody the Tootsie story. I think Chase was with you, correct?
Oh God, which one?
Well, wasn't there one where you ended up getting a knife in your leg?
Okay, so that's not with Chase. So that was with Johnny Devine.
Yeah, so Johnny Devine. Yeah.
So you remember back in the TNA days, man, we like owned downtown Nashville. I don't think I paid for a drink for like 5 years, and we would go out pretty every night. I mean, we were just over. It's not bragging, and I'm not a big part of the early TNA days. I'm just saying TNA was over downtown Nashville with all the bars and clubs.
Oh, yeah.
So the one common place that a lot of us would go, it's not even there anymore, was Bar Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
So we
I remember that.
there, and we would usually end up going to Hurricanes and a bunch of other places. Well, me and Johnny, it was just us. We were rooming together at the time, and we had left one bar, and I think we were actually headed home, and we were driving down Broadway. There was this car next to us, and there was a lot of traffic, so it was like bump and go, you know, stop and go, stop and go.
Yeah.
And there was another car next to us full of dudes talking shit to us, trying to start stuff. And I don't know if you've ever met Johnny Devine, but the dude is short-tempered, hot-headed.
I can't remember who he is. I can't.
He was part of Team Canada, the early days of Team Canada.
Yeah.
Okay.
And super awesome dude. Loved Johnny. But, man, he had a temper. And if he'd been drinking, which was like me pretty much all the time, it was even worse.
Yeah.
So, I mean, after like 5 minutes of this stop-and-go traffic and them hollering back and forth with whatever they were doing, Johnny just looked at me and goes, dude, let's go. I was like, okay. So next thing I know, I think it was, I was driving. We pull over in this, I don't even know where it's at. It was on Broadway or 2nd or something like that.
Yeah.
A church parking lot, and wave them in. Of course, they don't know that they've just started something with 2 professional wrestlers. They just think we're just local yokels down in Nashville. Well, it's 4 of them jump out of the car, and I shit you not, we just brutalized the shit out of them. And one of the best things that I've ever seen in a street fight, I look over, I've got one dude, and I'm banging his head up against the car like a turnbuckle. And I look over, and Johnny Devine picks this guy up in a textbook belly-to-back suplex on the concrete. God.
Was
he out cold?
The second car shows up, and more of their friends jump out. Well, I start swinging at this guy next to the car, and, you know, I shouldn't have been driving. I had been drinking, and so I'm throwing haymakers this time. I'll never forget. I threw this haymaker. The guy turns his back, and when he turns his back to me, he's facing right up against the passenger door of the car, so he's got nowhere to go. Yeah. And as I start wailing on him, I just see his left hand go out and come back in, and I had no idea what happened. And then I saw him turn and thrust at Johnny, and then they all get in their cars and drive away. That's all. It happened that quick.
Damn.
And we had no idea, because, you know, your adrenaline's rushing. I don't know if you've ever been stabbed or shot, but you just don't know at first. We get in the car, and all of a sudden, Johnny pulls a bloody hand away from his stomach, and he goes, dude, I think I've been stabbed. And at that moment, my left leg just felt like it was on fire. And so I reached down, pulled back a bloody hand as well. I was like, dude, I think we've been stabbed.
Man.
And so next thing I know, we are driving as fast as we can to the hospital. Here we are downtown, and I'm such an idiot. I didn't even think about Vanderbilt. We live out in Hermitage, so we drive all the way out to that hospital that's out there in Hermitage. I can't figure out how to get in because you got to like drive around. It's got a weird entrance. So after me taking 2 laps back and forth, can't find the entrance to this place at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was like, screw this, we're Dukes of Hazzarding this shit. And I pull off road and bust through the chain link fence. I'm probably incriminating myself. Bust through the chain link fence, and I drive up to the emergency room, cigarette dangling out of my mouth, dragging my buddy in the emergency room. And these people in the hospital are looking at us like, what in the hell is getting ready to happen? Johnny was like, they had to do a hernia surgery on him. He's got stitches from his belly button all the way up his chest. Like his guts were like coming out of his stomach.
No shit. God damn.
Yeah, he was lucky to be alive, dude. He had major surgery, but he got lucky because he was Canadian. So he had no American credit. So he didn't have to pay his medical bills because what are they going to do? You know, he's got, a citizen. So anyway, he was lucky to be alive after that. I was fortunate just to be stabbed in the leg, but had to have a bunch of stitches. Couldn't walk for a while, but yeah, it was a crazy story.
Fucking A, man. So that's a lot to take in, man. I'm sitting here like, okay, my favorite spot of that, though, is envisioning you giving him the 10 turnbuckles on the car. And
definitely.
I see there's a crowd around going 1, 2, 3, 4. They're counting with it. That's what I see, and that's the way you should tell that story the next time you tell it. Say like there's a big crowd around and blah blah blah. So that's what I would do if I was you. You know, it's your story. You can tell it how the fuck you want, but yeah, that's pretty awesome, man. I mean, it ain't awesome, but it is awesome at the same time. It's one of those,
stupid stuff.
Old school wrestling stories
nowadays. You know, I'd be scared. I mean, I'm too old and I don't drink. I'm just saying I'd be scared to death nowadays to pick a fight in the bar. I mean, you'd be shot.
Oh, I know, man. You look at some of the stuff you did back then and you're like, man, I'm lucky to be alive.
Yeah.
I swear, I think I counted it up one time. I've been in and only I think one was I driving, but I've been in like 10 car wrecks. And one of them I was ejected. You know, it's like, what the heck, man? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Thankfully, and I don't know how, good Lord looking over me, I was never in a car wreck like that, but I should have been.
So you said there's more. And so that really didn't involve Tootsie. So there's got to be a Tootsie story. So this is my favorite part of the show right here. This type of stuff. I could care less talking wrestling. Stuff.
And I wasn't the instigator. I was almost always the peacemaker because, you know, Chase, he was the one that didn't take much to get him started. The story that you might be thinking of is the time we kind of got kicked out of Tootsie's for a while because you know how it is, man. You're in a bar, everybody's drinking, and everybody's girl is looking at the group of wrestlers. Yeah. So these guys get pissed off, they get jealous, they want to step up, they want to test you, or they start to, who's the fake shit? And then it don't take much, man. When it's 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and you're 12 beers deep and you've got a temper like Chase, and brother, we were always side by side. That was the one thing I loved about our time as a tag team. You hear these other guys that don't really get along, man. We were always together.
Yeah.
So I knew when it was going to happen. I was like, here we go. But that one time, probably the worst is when the fight actually didn't start inside. We actually took it outside. Chase beat the ever living shit out of this guy on the sidewalk right in front of Tootsie's. And I literally had to like bear hug and pick Chase up and like carry him down to the Legends corner. And then we took off because the police started coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one wasn't too crazy of a story. That's just what happened.
But yeah, that's my favorite part of the show. I mean, we could talk about wrestling or whatever, but I'll leave that part to Jimmy. Hot tag.
I just want to know how many times you've seen Chase beat the shit out of somebody.
That's like asking me how many matches I've had. I mean,
I know, right? My bad.
And it wasn't. And to give Chase credit, he really didn't go out looking for it. He just wasn't one to walk away from it either.
Right.
But like I just said, man, we would be out all the time because we weren't these weekend warrior guys. Me and Chase kind of made our own territory when there really wasn't a territory. So we were working 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week all over Memphis to Evansville to other places in Kentucky and Knoxville and Chat. I mean, we were doing as much as we could to get our names out there before the TNA days. And of course, after the show, where are we going? We're going out to the bar. And so it was weekly. It was almost every week we were getting in some kind of scrap.
And your buddy's out there still doing it, Andy. Can you tell him, like, what's up, man? There's life after wrestling. Chase is still the lone soldier out there, man.
It's crazy. Props to him, though. There's no way, man. I couldn't even. I'd throw my back out just putting my boots on at this time.
No lie.
Yeah. Well, I do have a real wrestling question here. So I've always been enamored because my favorite tag teams are Rock and Roll Express and PG-13. So and I'm a musician, so there's something about the music tag teams that have always kind of kicked it off for me. So starting out a Rock and Roll Express fan, get a little older, become a PG-13 fan. Well, as I'm reading, and we did research on the Chase show about a year ago, and I remember reading, and you guys were at one point the Naturals, but then Lawler changed you to the Alternative Express?
Yes. So we were doing Memphis for a short period of time until we had enough run-ins with the Moondogs. We were like, screw this. So we weren't really making any money. And when the money that we were making, we had to like wait around for an hour after show to follow Corey around to beg for our payday. So it just got to be, it wasn't worth it for us. But shortly after starting in Memphis, whoever Lawler was dating at the time, I think the story goes it was his girlfriend's idea to turn us into the Alternative Express. So he sends Jimmy Hart and somebody else to Target, and they get a bunch of Slipknot, Marilyn Manson type clothes, and Lawler comes in with some face paint and paints these god awful things on our faces, and we got to go out and pretend like we're emo, and it was terrible. We hated doing it. But the other line to that was, just like you, my biggest mark, when I was a kid, when I first broke in, but when I was first watching, it was because of my grandmother. And the Rock and Roll Express was her favorite tag team, and that's who I grew up just loving more than anybody.
Yeah.
So the silver lining of the story was, that's the whole point, I think, of doing the Alternative Express, is because we did an angle to get to work the Rock and Roll Express in the Mid-South Coliseum, where I was fortunate enough to be able to take the double drop kick for the 1, 2, 3. And here I am laying in the middle of the ring with a big shitting grin on my face. Because I just took the double drop kick from the Rock and Roll Express in the Mid-South Coliseum. And that was definitely one of the highlights of my career.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
Love it.
Who's more snug with the drop kick? Who hits it harder, Ricky or Robert?
I was on Seventh Heaven. I don't even remember.
Wolfie, can you tell me?
It's usually they're in sync so well. It's literally a double drop kick. So I wouldn't put it on either one of them.
Okay, so it's just one it hits you like one hit
all at once. All at once.
Yeah. I mean, God almighty, they're the best. I love it. No disrespect to you, PG-13, sir, but
let's take a quick time out and get a word from one of my dope-ass sponsors, and we'll be right back with more Live and in Color with Wolfie D. Hey folks, this is Wolfie D here, and if you are looking to buy or sell a home in Tennessee or Southern Kentucky, you're going to want to call my buddy, the rock star realtor, Benji Bowie. And you say, Wolfie, how do I get in touch with this rock star? Well, you can call him directly at 615-390-8216. You can go to his website, bowiehomes.com. That's B-U-I-E homes.com. Or you can email him at benbowie34@gmail.com. When you need a home, you need the Rockstar Realtor.
Benji is a member of Exit Realty's Garden Gate team in Gallatin, Tennessee.
I want to hear, okay, so obviously, you told that story about Bert coming up to you. And the reason I was curious about your first stop in Nashville is because Porter was my first stop in Nashville. But then I went on to Bert to work for Bert. And that's actually where I started getting paid. I would love to hear if you've got any funny Bert stories, man.
Yeah.
Funny Bert stories, man. I mean, Bert was really good to us. The only time, if you were around Bert long enough, you knew when he was in a pissy mood, and you just knew either ignore him, not take anything he said to heart, or just avoid him.
Yeah.
I mean, he was so moody, but if he was in a good mood, then he was like the best guy in the world to be with him. Yeah. So I don't know if off the top of my head I can think of any funny stories, but I did one time, kind of what you said earlier, did he ask me to go out and pay? He didn't do that, but after I'd been working for him a while, I had brought a girl I was dating to Nashville with me just to watch the show, and I guess I made the mistake of taking her backstage before the show started.
Oh, God.
And brother, he came backstage, and I don't know if he was just doing it to be Bert or to show his authority or whatever, but he threw the biggest fit and made me kick her out and walk out. Yeah, he made a big scene about it. So
it's funny. It's so funny to hear the stories of Bert, because I had a different relationship with him because of timing. Like when I met Bert, he was just a manager in Memphis. He wasn't a big promoter and all that kind of stuff, to where he could, a lot of the guys, probably you coming in then, felt like he had some stroke and all that kind of stuff. Definitely. I always ignored Bert and his moods. You know what I'm saying? I
didn't know any better. I mean, I was, and that's one thing, if I could do all over, I would have done a little bit more homework and research to know what I was walking into. Man, I came down to Nashville and I didn't know anybody. Right. I didn't know who Porter was. I didn't know who Bert was. And so I just went by what people told me. But the one thing I will put him over for was at that time, now he was getting some rub off of TNA being in the fairgrounds.
Right.
But to give him credit out of anybody else in the Middle Tennessee area, he was pretty much the only one running good quality shows that would pay decent on a consistent basis.
Yeah. Right.
In a decent radius around Nashville, so that you weren't just working, a Saturday. I mean, he was running there for a while, 3 or 4 shows, and then he had the TV studio shows that were really good, I thought, in a couple different studios, but nobody else was doing that, at least to that quality.
Plus, he would take you up to Illinois, Kentucky. I mean, he would take you out. And I got to travel because of Bert. And I mean, that, again, I'm just a manager, but again, that meant a lot. That made me feel like I was actually becoming a wrestler, part of the team, I guess. Yeah.
Sure.
But I do remember one time Bert was definitely in a pissy mood. He was like, change your tie. That looks horrible. And I'm like,
just dumb shit like that.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. Got it.
But and like you were saying, like, I wasn't trying to say that Bert wasn't good to me. Bert was good to me too, but it was just a different relationship that I had with him, to where I would tell him to fuck off, or I threatened to punch him in the face one night, right in the middle of the ring. And I was serious. Tell him that
story, man.
Because I haven't told this one in a while for the listeners, and I'm sure Andy probably doesn't know it. But so, because see, here's Bert's thing. Bert used to tell me I was a bully because, like, he'd give me, like Shane Eaton or something like that. And I've always been a snug worker, man. Sorry, but he thought I was being a bully and stuff like that. So anyway, he, I was like one of his top heels at the time. Right. And we're at the fairgrounds and we're coming out of intermission and my music plays and I go to the ring and I get in the ring. So it's time for, I think it was Shane actually, that it was time for his music to play. And all of a sudden, Bert comes running up next to the ring with the microphone. He's like, hang on. We got a raffle to do. I almost forgot. Blah, blah, blah.
You got to get that raffle money.
And he's going to let his, me stand there in the middle of the ring while he's doing a fucking raffle. I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? And so I went up to him and like, he's got the mic and I kind of like pushed the mic down so it couldn't be heard over the mic. And I said it between my teeth where the people in the front row couldn't hear me, but I got right in his face. And I said, if you don't play that motherfucker's music right now, I swear to God, I'm going to punch you right in the fucking face. And he looked at me kind of funny, and then he grabs the mic and he goes, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and have this match, and then we'll do the raffle after this match.
Yeah. I don't blame you, man.
I'm serious.
He would do these raffles, and it'd be like 11:30 at night before the show would be over. He'd do so many raffles.
You ain't gonna leave me in the middle of the ring standing there with my thumb in my ass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The fuck ever. A lot of people would have just went with it and sat there like a goof. But yeah, that's what I mean though by the type of relationship we had. He couldn't do that type of shit to me when he could to other people.
Oh, for sure.
Please take this as the being a jokester that I am, okay? But who here can say that they've lost a job because of a social media post? Can anyone say?
No.
So that's bullshit. I need to clarify that.
Thank you. That's what I wanted you to do. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So I know what you are referring to, and I've never really had a chance to clarify that. So I'm happy to do that.
Here's a great platform to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. So back in my day, we didn't have this Facebook and Twitters and TikToks and all that garbage. We just had MySpace, which for professional wrestlers was awesome because it was a really good way to get a lot of bookings out of state.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was really popular on MySpace for these, like, I don't even know what you call them, like little personal surveys. They'd be like a series of like 10, 20, 30 questions. What's your favorite food? Who's your favorite band? What's this? What's that? And you would just answer them and post them and share them. And it was what it was. Well, somebody had made the comment about our hair and if we would ever cut our hair. And this was a fan making the comment on my personal page. And I had said something to the comment with that we would never do that. Something to that effect. Like, oh, we'd never cut our hair. Nobody's going to make us cut our hair. That type of thing. Well, fast forward, however long this was later, towards the end of our TNA run, and it was clearly the end of our TNA run. That's when we were with Shane Douglas, and that's when the whole hair thing came up. And I know for a fact that it was just brought up because of that reason. And what I mean by that is, let me set this up right. So you've got to understand, towards the end of our career at TNA, we were making no money. They put us with Shane Douglas to try to get us over a little bit more. And when they did that, they wanted us to immediately switch from our pink and black to yellow and black tights and boots. Right. Wolfie, you ain't running down to Dick's Sporting Goods and getting wrestling boots.
No.
You got to custom them. You got to send that order in. It takes forever, and it's freaking expensive. And the same thing with your tights. Yeah. We didn't have the money to do that, brother. Like, I didn't have an extra $200-$300 for boots. I didn't have $200-$300 for tights. But we came up with it, and the guy that did our custom boots was that like Mexican dude in Arkansas. I can't even remember the name of it. He made like,
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, awesome boots, best boots I've ever seen. He thankfully rush ordered our yellow and black boots and got them to us in like a record amount of time. And we did all of that to show that, like, hey, we're still with the company. We're still going to do what you want us to do. We can't afford to do this. We are losing money on this, but we're company guys. We're going to do what you asked us to do. Well, then it got to the point where the whole hair situation came. They took us in the trailer, and AMW had broken up. Team 3D, the Dudley boys were in the company. And in the trailer, it was me and Chase on the couch, and then it was Dutch Mantell, Jeremy Borash, Scott D'Amore, Bill Banks, I think, and maybe one or two other people. Brother, it was in stereo. It was so scripted. They didn't even try to make it look real. The first thing they brought up is they filled us full of bullshit like, oh, you guys are going to be the new heel team of the company. We're going to put everything on you guys. After they had nothing for us, and we could tell that that's where it was going.
Right.
Then it came up like, we want you to cut your hair very short. Now, you've got to understand, at this time, we didn't have contracts with TNA.
Yeah.
Our contracts had expired, and we had not renegotiated new contracts. We hadn't even been offered new contracts in a long time. We were just like on a weekly as-needed basis, and if they called us to TV, we were getting paid per show. We had no contract. So in our minds, we were like, no, why would we do this? We've already wasted all this money. Why would we change our look if you can't even give us an extension on our contract? Because we could cut our hair today, and tonight you could say, well, go home. We don't need you anymore.
Yeah, right.
Man.
In addition to that, we had been company guys since day one. We were like original TNA dudes. You want us to go out there and job? Brother, we'll go out there and job. You want us to put somebody over? We'll put somebody over. And that became kind of our job there for a while because they knew they could put anybody with us and we'd make them look good. When they brought in that linebacker, who'd they put him with? Us. When they brought in other people that couldn't work for shit, who'd they put them with? Us.
Right.
Because we knew we could make them look good. And so it got to the point, man, towards the end, it was just like, we are sick and tired of not really being appreciated, and we're sick and tired of having no direction, and you can't even pay us. We're making no money, and you're demanding all this stuff from us. And it just felt like one of those things, like there comes a time in your career where you got to stand up for yourself. Yeah. And to be honest with you, it was 99% nothing to do with the hair. I could have given two shits about cutting my hair. It was the fact that we felt like they were just pushing us to the brink to see how much we could take. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not doing it, brother. I'm not. And so what I meant was how fake it looked, and it was all set up. When they brought that to us, and I didn't even say no. I was the one that spoke up. I didn't say no. I was like, I think I said something like, well, I don't think we're comfortable with cutting our hair. And before I could finish my sentence, every one of those agents stood up in stereo and walked out of the trailer. So they were waiting. They were just waiting for us to balk at anything. They could have cared less. They were going to approach us with anything to make us kind of hesitant on anything so that they can get up and then run off and tell everybody else that we're hard to deal with and we're not the guys for the job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So after that happened, we were like, well, shit, are we fired? What's going on? So we went to Jeff, who was going through his own personal stuff at the time. And it was hard to get his attention, but I was like, look, hey, can you just give us, like, I don't know, some money? Can we get like a guarantee or something here? And he got all hot and pissed at us and just blew us off and walked away. Now, to give him credit, and I've not talked to him about this, and we're on good terms nowadays, I don't know if he knew at the time we didn't have contracts, because that was the big kicker. If we were under contract, it had been a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he knew that or not. But anyway, when that all happened, that was kind of the domino effect of it. Wasn't much longer after that where we were done with TNA.
Wow.
And I don't regret it because, man, they had nothing for us. We had run our course there. I was messed up on what I was doing, and it was just frustrating, man.
No, that's completely understandable. And definitely. I can totally see that whole scenario. And I guarantee you, they were waiting on you because they figured when we tell them to cut their hair, they're not going to want to, you know what I mean? I could just see that. They
saw the MySpace post and they're like, hey, this is how we can get them.
Yeah. Yeah. Guarantee they was waiting on it. That's the wrestling business, man.
Man.
Unfortunately.
Man, the biggest thing that hindered our career, other than drugs and alcohol, honestly, the biggest thing that hindered our career is, Wolfie, to excel in this business, it's 99% what you do behind the curtains. It's you could be the shittiest guy in the ring and still get over. And Chase and I weren't those guys, man. We weren't those political guys. We weren't the ass kissers. I just couldn't do it.
Me neither, man. Me neither.
It is what it is.
That's what I tell so many people, man. I think had I been a better ass kisser, not that I didn't do well in the business, but I could have done more if I would have been a better ass kicker, better politician, but I'm not that way, man. If I don't like you, I'm not going to act like I do, that type of thing. You know what I mean? I just never.
Right. And I've told just about every podcast or interview that I've done, and this is what hurts my heart the most about my whole entire career. The higher up we got in our careers, the less fun wrestling became.
Yeah.
Like when we first got to TNA, man, we were on top of, when we were running the territory, that was my favorite memory of being a professional wrestler. When we first got to TNA, it was pretty awesome. But as we climbed the ladder in TNA, man, it was just like, I might as well go do a 9 to 5. I'm not even having fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
Man, we could go on forever with this, I can tell. But before we do run out of time, I really want to talk about Chris Candido, because Chris was, I know, had an influence with you guys. He was my guy, me and Jamie's guy, I should say, in ECW. That's the guy that got us there. Him and Tracy, some others. So, I had a good relationship with him. Talk about Chris, man.
Chris was awesome, man. They again, we just had a string of bad luck, man. We would start to get over, and then something would happen. We'd start to get over, and then something would happen. And sure enough, they put us with Chris. And when they first put us with Chris, we're like, what in the hell? This makes no sense. He doesn't. There's no history here. There's nothing that really ties us together.
Yeah.
But brother, from the moment he went out the curtain with us, something was just there.
Yeah.
He was so good. He was so good on the mic. He was so just that whole match after he broke his leg, and I'm sure you've heard the story where we had like 10 minutes to feel like they sent us home way too early. And here he just takes the mic and cuts an impromptu promo, like one of the best promos ever. It was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it hurts my heart to know that he fought similar demons that myself and a lot of us did. And he was able to conquer those demons, and he was still taken away from us too soon, man. It kills me. But at the same breath, I'm happy that he went out that way as opposed to being alone in a hotel room by himself, Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Man.
But he was awesome. And I wish, looking back, I would have had more time with him. I wish I would have had, of the time that we had, I wish I would have gone the extra mile to spend more time with him, to talk with him. But, dude, at that time, I couldn't get back to my hotel room quick enough with my little bag of goodies. And I wasn't into conversating. I wasn't into learning. I was get me out of here as quick as I can so I can go stay up for 2 days straight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I regret that. I regret some of the relationships that could have been much better had I not been so screwed up.
For sure, man. There's been a lot of people that I've had on here, and I've said this, man, many times, is been around so many different people, but didn't really take the time, unless it was in the ring, to learn from them now. Didn't really take the time to sit down and get to know people. I mean, dude, it's like some people that I was around all the time, I hardly knew them. Except for in the ring, that's it. And then I get them on here and I talk to them and, find out a whole different side and things I didn't know. And I mean, in recent, I've actually made some friends from this podcast, Joel Deaton being one of them. I never wrestled him a day in my life, but love him to death. Talk to him all the time. Tony Anthony, Dirty White Boy, talk to him all the time. No, we were, we wrestled each other quite a bit, but I never was around him really. You know what I'm saying? We talk all the time. And it's just crazy how that mentality that you were talking about let's do our shit, let's get over, and let's get the fuck out of here,
And I think too that's another thing that's lost with the way our business is today. Guys aren't working like they used to work. They're only working 1 or 2 days a month or whatever, so they're not hitting the road with the older guys. And those 4 and 5 hour trips, being in the car with Bo James and Tracy Smothers, just being some young punk kid with my mouth shut and my ears open, man, some of those are some of the better memories than anything. Just hearing those guys tell stories and talk about stuff and trying to learn from them was invaluable.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Candido to me was so underrated just for his ability in the ring, but also for his mic skills. And I was watching TNA hard at that time. Like it was a regular thing. I made time. I think I had DVR maybe at the time. Anyway, if I didn't, I was taping it, something. If I couldn't catch it, I was watching TNA. And I love that trio of you three. I thought there was some strange magic, I think is what you could call that, because like you said, on paper, you guys don't fit, but you do, because you do, and when you put them together, it makes sense. So I don't know, but
I think it was the fact that, we were kind of like the cocky pretty boy heels that would also easily play the chicken shit heel role. And here we had Candido, who was always kind of a smaller guy. So he could play that role really well as well, but he could also talk really well on the mic. So I think that just kind of naturally gelled with us, and it was magic, but it was a flash in the pan, and it was great while it was there.
Yeah. Hey, and I'm gonna do something here that I never do on this show, but I feel like we're barely scraping the tip of the iceberg here, man, of getting the full story out of you and questions I want to ask you. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to just do the stupid ass fucking thing with the names. I'm going to throw some names out there and just give me a few words about each person. Are
you going to play the name game, Wolf?
Yeah, man. I don't ever do that, but I know we're running out of time and there's other shit I want to talk about, but I know we're not going to get to it. So I think this would be the easiest way to do that.
Hit that music.
Elix Skipper.
Man, we worked quite a bit. He was very athletic, but sometimes could be difficult to work with because some of those guys that had been around longer than us just always wanted to get all their shit in. And with TNA, that was kind of difficult because you may have like a 10-minute match. And by the time you walk through the curtain, the ref's in your ear cutting you down to 6 minutes. And everybody's got to get their stuff in. And some of those guys I think they kind of pulled seniority on us. Yeah. But I liked him. He was a cool dude, though.
Yeah. Storm
was good. And some of our best matches was against AMW. We knew if we were on these house shows or whatever with TNA or just normal shows, we knew without a doubt we were going to have a good match with Chris and Storm.
Yeah. That's the next one, Chris Harris.
Yeah. And Chris, I think me and Chris were closer than me and Storm because it seemed like when we would split off during the match, it was always me and Harris going in one direction and Chase and Storm going the other direction. And I don't know, we just always got along and enjoyed a lot working with those guys, even though it could be like pulling teeth to call a match with them. But once we got out there, it was pretty smooth.
David Young.
Brother, we could do a whole hour on David Young. That's a guy I wish that I had been around early on in my career. And I enjoyed all the time at TNA. And even when we were doing some like Rome, Georgia and some Georgia Championship Wrestling, I always had a blast with him. He would always take us out after the shows and just, man, he's another dude that was super underrated. I mean, to be his size and be able to do some of the stuff he could do, he was awesome.
I don't know if you've seen him lately, but he's got fucking abs, bro.
Yeah, he's probably on that Ozempic shit.
It could be. Plus he's got a new girlfriend, he's training harder.
Good for him. There you go.
Good for him.
He's always worked.
He did the one and only run-in on this podcast. Me and Jimmy. Who are we talking to, Jimmy?
Oh, my God. Oh, it was Bob Cook.
Bob Cook was on the phone, and I got a call like an hour before from Rod Hicks, the guy that owns Collar and Elbow. He lives here in Somerset. Yeah. And so he said, David Young's at my house. He wants to come to your house. I was like, well, I'm fixing to do a podcast. And so anyway, we're talking to Bob Cook, and here's Rod and David at my door coming in doing a run-in on my podcast.
There you go. Why
funny.
Not, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's pretty funny, man. Man, Andy, it's been great talking to you, man. Do you got any, Jimmy? The
one question I would ask, if you have time for it real quick, is, and this is my favorite question lately, so Wolfie probably knows what this is, but if you were to have a pause button or a rewind button on your life or your career, whatever, what would you pick?
You mean... Phrase that again.
Yeah, no, it's cool. If you had a magical pause or rewind button, you could rewind all the way to the start if you want to, or you could just pause right now and make it last. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think the time, like I said earlier, when Chase and I were really burning up the roads, like Sunday to Sunday, those were the best, man. And I don't think I truly appreciated those times because you're working so hard and you're so hungry to get known and to get to that next level. You don't really truly appreciate working in front of 40 or 50 people. Sure. When really looking back on it, those are usually some of the most fun shows that you can do because you really make a connection with the crowd. And I look back on those times, and unfortunately a lot of that, because of things, and I just don't have the best memory, a lot of that I don't remember, or it's kind of a haze. I'm not like Chase or even like, like Cornette or these other crazy people that can tell you what they did in 82 in Evansville, Indiana in front of 32 people and the ticket sales were $7 and this was the main event and they went 12 minutes and 32 seconds. They can name off every single little detail. I'm not like that, dude. I'm like, man, I kind of remember 2002 maybe.
I'm the same.
But it's like when I do stuff like this and people bring up questions or mention certain things, that's when it kind of jolts me and kicks in. So that's why I like doing this. But yeah, that time was really fun. And I think if I could pause that time, I would tell myself I'm not as good as I think I am and to study and do more homework. I wish I would have. I think my case, I think I got pushed to the top from when I first broke in to coming to Nashville to meeting Bert and to getting on TNA happened so quick. I kind of thought my shit didn't stink. And so it kind of got to the point where I just hit cruise control and didn't really study or try to get better after a certain point. And then that attitude ran into cocaine and alcohol. So I just really coasted for like the next 5 years after that and kind of shot myself in the foot as far as my wrestling career. But, it is what it is.
It's funny because, and I just said it a few minutes ago, talking to people on here. I feel like me and you almost had a similar mindset in the business, and it's almost a similar story as far as that type of shit goes, man. Because I was the same way. I knew I was good. You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't really. I mean, I wanted it to be. I wanted to be the best, but it's like I probably could have done a little bit more to help myself out. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah. But man, it's been a pleasure talking to you, bro. Again, tell the people the name of your place.
Yeah. So my office is called Nashville Neck and Back. We're in Middle Tennessee, just north of Nashville, Tennessee. Also, you can find me on YouTube. Just search Nashville Neck and Back and enjoy the content on there.
Yeah.
Nashville Neck and Back. My pussy and my crack. No, that should be your commercial.
I may have to bleep some of that out.
We don't bleep on here.
Not on here, but yeah.
But anyway, dude, seriously, thank you for coming on. Like I said, it's been fun talking to you, and most of the time at 1 hour, I'm going, God bless. Let's hang up. Let's be done with this. And this, unfortunately,
I hear you.
is a little bit different where I could keep going with you. But man, you get back to cracking those backs, and man, again, thanks. And we'll be right back with Ask Wolfie D Anything.
Thank you, man. Thanks you so
dude.
much.
Yeah, man. Anytime. Give me a call. We'll do it again if you want to.
Thank you again, man.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Take care, sir. Thank you. All right, DJ, hit the music. All right, we are back with Ask Wolfie D Anything, and man, oh man, Andy, that's a great episode, dude. That was awesome. Great interview.
Very good interview. Like I said, sometimes I'm ready to hang up, but I need to stop saying that because anybody that I've interviewed is going to go, I wonder if he's talking about me.
I think he's talking about me. Wonder if he's talking about me. No, it's not you. Don't worry.
No, it's not you.
No, but I mean, seriously, we could have gone on, but Andy is actually, he granted us a great time. We were told, normally with him, it's a different time that we would need to record.
Yeah.
He actually worked it in the schedule. And so we worked with his schedule. So we did, there were many more questions we could have asked him, but I think we got a great episode. Heck, it'll open the door for a part 2 on down the line, Yeah. So, but we do have some questions for you today, brother. And
Alrighty.
Being that this is Ask Wolfie, we really do need a new segment, I think, at the end. But, Ask Wolfie's doing its job. So thank you, Ask Wolfie. So the very first question is from Charles on YouTube. He is at user YH5YH5E5SU or 4U. Yeah, I don't know. That's his username. But
you know who you are.
Yeah. Well, he wrote, and this is kind of an interesting terminology he used in this. So I'm just going to I'm just going to read it as is. So he wrote Pioneers Greatness 13. Is that what PG stands for?
Is that his question? Is that what it stands for?
Starts with, no. He started the sentence with Pioneers Greatness 13. So maybe that's what PG stands for. I thought it was parental guidance, but anyway. He said,
but
when
I saw... I like that. I appreciate it. I get what he's saying. Thank you.
Yeah. When I saw y'all on WWF TV, it's hard to explain. It was like seeing Lawler for the first time. Could you give a breakdown of the Memphis chapter of the Nation of Domination? You know, so it's cool. Y'all did the music basically like Def Leppard style. Jim Johnston, I assume he was awesome, you know. Yeah. And I remember Randy, but going back to the Nation of Domination Memphis chapter, he's saying he remembers Randy X, Shaquille Ali, Elijah Hakeem, BBD was someone. Thanks. Anyway, go ahead. Talk about the Memphis faction.
Well, it was just giving us a chance, I guess, to kind of, you know, work the gimmick before we actually work the gimmick. You know what I mean? Practice. Yeah. And even though we weren't doing the rap live, really, you know, just a chance to, like I said, practice it's because it wasn't obviously it wasn't a far stretch from PG-13, so there wasn't a whole lot of different shit we had to do, but just, I guess, just getting used to doing that deal and by any means necessary. And, you know, but yeah, so you had Miss Texas was in it, Tracy Smothers, Spellbinder, I think Reggie was in it, Big Black Dog, who am I missing any? Randy
X. Wow.
Yeah, Randy X. Yeah, man.
Who came up with Randy X, by the way?
I don't remember. It had to be one of us, Miriam, or had to be.
That's so funny. But we've really never talked about this a lot. We haven't. It's never really came up a lot. Now, so basically, it was a way to kind of solidify the gimmick you were about to be doing on the big time TV.
Yeah, and to switch us heel. You know, get us from that groove.
And so you could still keep that gimmick going when you were home, basically. And
exactly.
That makes sense.
Because that would be dumb to go up there and be one thing and come back and try to be red and blue PG-13. You know? Right.
Which didn't Lawler do that some, though? He would be a heel on WWF and come back to baby face.
Yeah, he did. But it's not like he really had to change his whole character, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. Because
you just can't. And I mean, with us a little bit, it was kind of hard to make us heels, but it worked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with him, it's Memphis, and it's just hard to do there. You know?
Oh, definitely. I just listened to his audio book. I had read the book a long time ago, but I just listened to it on YouTube. It's actually him reading it. So. That's pretty cool, man. Yeah. But anyway, definitely appreciate that question, Charles. Thank you for listening and being a great supporter. So the next one is from Cody Penders on Facebook. And he's just asking simply, is there any good Gypsy Joe stories that you have? And I know you've told the one about the humping him in the ring. And of course, we talked about training, but is there anything else? Or maybe even like, when was the last time you saw Gypsy?
I think the last time I saw him was when I went to see him. I went to see him in a nursing home.
Yeah.
But then he was at a show, I think, after that. And this is like, you know, he had gotten his foot cut off and all that. I can't remember which came first, but I either saw him, it was either at a show or at the nursing home was the last time I seen him. Okay. So not too far after, you know, before he passed. But yeah. Okay, so when it comes to my mind here, and I guess everybody that listens to this show, I'm sure doesn't get grossed out easy, and they don't care what I say, I don't think. But so Joe goes out back. This was like, I think, in Beaver Dam, and he had been out back, you know, probably burning one and whatever. But evidently he had, you know, hooked up with some chick out there or whatever.
Oh, God.
And he's sitting in the dressing room and taking off his, you know, I guess, I can't remember if he's putting on his tights or taking them off or something like that. But let's just say he had a little fluid left in him. All right?
Oh, Lord have mercy.
And so he, like, kind of pinched it and had it dangling from his finger. It was, I swear, if he's holding his finger out, like arms straight up about shoulder height, and that string of stuff was almost touching the ground.
So you're talking about Gypsy's jism.
Yeah, Gypsy jism. Yeah. And he was saying something like, "Look, I get the girls," or some shit. I don't remember what he was saying, something like that. But he was laughing and just dangling this web juice around.
Web juice. Oh my God.
Yeah, we were all like, "Oh God!" Everybody's backing up, you know.
I mean, yes, that is funny. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can't believe I've never heard that story, even to the side, man. That's funny.
Yeah, it just popped in my head all of a sudden.
Wow. So yeah, what was the show again? Beaver Dam? Who was running that?
That was Shelby Adcock.
Yeah, Shelby. Yeah. And so who are some of the guys working on that show that you remember?
Chris Champion and me and Jamie and some of the local guys there. I can't remember all their names.
Okay.
Sure, probably Chris Michaels was there. All the regulars that made that loop.
Now, okay, yeah. Now that's good answer. And so this is early on then, Beaver Dam. This is early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This may have been I don't know if I was Wolfie D yet. I was either the medic or Wolfie D's beginning.
Okay. My final question about this Gypsy Joe story. If I don't mind, what kind of trism was Gypsy Joe pulling?
I can't remember, man. I mean, whatever he could get. I don't think they used to say. I remember somebody say, you've heard there's bisexual and then there's trisexual. Joe's trisexual. Try anything. So
once, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Good for Joe. All right. Hey, you got to get it where you can, right? Can't hustle, man. So, okay. So the final question, and I don't even know, but this may open up another door here. So this one is from Jeff McQuarrie on Facebook, and he asks, is it true that you are the only wrestler that did not make love to Missy Hyatt?
Say that again. Say it one more time.
Is it true that you are the only wrestler that did not make love to Missy Hyatt?
Yeah, I guess it is true because I did not. Or Sonny, or there's a couple others I can name.
A couple others you can. Wait, would you like to? No, I'm just.
Nah, I don't get into all that. I'm too old for all that.
So, did you know Missy at all? Do you know her?
I don't think I've ever met Missy. If I have, I don't remember.
Okay. And obviously, you know, the Gilberts and that kind of stuff. Do you know much of the story with them at all? Like how they didn't work or why? Or
I mean, I guess she was messing around on him. So.
Okay. Gotcha.
On Eddie.
Yeah. I know Doug does not have the biggest opinion of her highest.
Nah.
But hell, sometimes that's you too, right? I mean,
that's right.
He sometimes has low opinions of other people too. But yeah, Missy, it's funny. I was going to.
For the listeners, Doug and I actually talked not too long ago. So
good.
I think that hatchet might be buried. I don't know.
Okay, good. I like to hear that. Yeah. Well, the final part of this is basically, Missy, there were stories that she was kind of like the WCW Sunny, right? I mean, she was the earlier version of Sunny.
I guess so. From what I hear.
It's funny because I reached out to her on Twitter, and I was like, hey, would you ever want to come on the podcast? And she didn't reply to it, but she did post something. She was like, I'm not doing any more podcasts. So instead of replying to us, she replied and posted it. I ain't doing no more podcasts. So I guess that was our answer. But anyway, long story short, no sex with Missy Hyatt. Okay.
No, sir.
All right. Well, hey, those were easy. That's all I got, brother. So
sounds like she was too. But not easy to get on the podcast. Whatever.
Not at all. Yeah, but care. There are others.
Doesn't bother me one bit.
Like Tito Santana or the other one, Barry Horowitz.
Barry.
Yeah.
God love them. Great wrestlers.
Hell, Doug Gilbert and Tommy Rich, if we're talking about people, but whatever.
Yeah, he won't do it either.
Yeah. Oh well. All right. Thank you, man.
It is what it is.
Thanks, Andy. Though Andy was awesome. By the way, he texted me immediately, like just before we started recording Ask Wolfie. He texted me and he says, "Oh man, I realized you were talking about that when I asked him about the social media post getting someone fired."
Yeah.
He went into the TNA story about getting fired.
You were talking WWF.
I was talking about the tryout with WWE. He says, "Oh man, I just had a flashback when you asked about MySpace. You meant the WWE dark match, didn't you?" He was like, "Anyways, story for next time." So yeah. That opens the door for that. But long story short, he that was a great interview, man. A really good conversation. So,
yeah, it was. And we appreciate him as always. You know, everybody that comes on, we appreciate it, man.
Yeah. We got a fun one next time.
So
I know that.
What we've got in store for, we think, the next 2 weeks. I think it's going to happen. I'll go ahead and say it because I don't foresee anything collapsing on this. We're going to do a 2-episode thing on traditional championship wrestling, which was TCW out of Missouri. Matt Riviera owned and ran that. It was actually a really, really good product for a little while. And then kind of the same old thing happened that I've talked about, where the kind of money ran out and people start listening to the wrong people and all that kind of stuff. But man, it was very professional, and it was cool, man. I enjoyed my time there, and we're going to have some guests on that worked there with me. And it's going to be a first for the show because what do we got? 5 others?
Yeah. 4 or 5 others.
So it's going to be about 5 other guys plus Jimmy and myself talking about TCW. And if anybody listening has not checked that out, does not have any clue what I'm talking about, there's a lot of it on YouTube. And I would say check it out, man, because it's some good TV, man. It really is. Yeah. A lot of good talent. And so, like I said, traditional championship wrestling, TCW. I was called Cerebus there. Me and Gary Roosevelt Graham were the Hounds of Hell as a tag team. Look some of that stuff up, man. There's some good stuff out there. So
and the cool thing about it, and I'll shut up, I promise. But the cool thing about it was like your third start, man. It was like your third life in wrestling, and that was kind of, you had a lot of hope in that. I remember when you were putting together the Cerebus deal, and it was crazy, man. You had like this Skeletor werewolf vibe about you. It was awesome, man. But anyway, I'm excited to talk to all those guys. It's going to be a fun time, and it's a 2-episode deal, man. So settle in.
Wolfie D's going on vacation.
Yeah.
So we had to have an extra there. So anyway.
That's what we do. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, hope you join us next week, and that should be 2 fun episodes. So we'll see you then. We'll hear you then. You'll hear us then. Whatever. See you. Bye.
And now a word from our sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Sheik, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey, it's the Heat Miser Scotty Blaze, and I'm inviting all of y'all to join me on my brand new podcast, Turning Up the Heat with the Heat Miser Scotty Blaze. So what are you waiting for? Come on over and join me. I'll be covering all the events of the day, global, national, pop culture, movies, gaming, whatever sounds interesting. But I'll also be playing some awesome skating shuffle music from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. Anything that has a good beat, I'm going to be playing it. You can rest assured. Come on over, tuthradio.com. The podcast is on every major podcast platform. See you then.
Are you a pro wrestling fan? Well, stop by Captain's Corner, where you can get autographed photos, cards, magazines, and figures from all of your favorite wrestling superstars of the past, present, and future. You'll also be able to participate in live signings in the weeks and months to come. Make sure to stop by Captain's Corner on Facebook and give us a holler. Remember, cheers to the working man.
Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews, sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com. And to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to uswapodcast.com.
That's right, it's the Talk of Middle Tennessee, the channel you love to hate and the channel you hate to love. It's Brian Turner from Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. And if you're looking for matches from Wolfie D to Jerry Lawler to Dusty Rhodes, and the team that put a pimp before your eyes and a goatee between your thighs, Booty Call and Athena, go to lostwrestling.com. See, I made it easy for you. Brian Turner's VHS Rehab. Booyah.
So that was another great episode. Hey, Wolfie, tell them where they can find you on social media.
Jimmy, they can find me in the club, bottle full of bub. I'm just kidding. They can find me on Facebook. My personal page is Warren Wolf, WOLFE. I'm on Instagram at Warren Wolf 13.
You can always find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Live Wolfie D. Here's the thing. Wolfie always has offers for his autographed photos. He has a selection of some awesome photos from throughout his career that he will autograph and personalize any way that you want him to. Just contact him either directly at his personal Facebook page or through any one of our other pages, and we'll make sure you get in contact directly with Wolfie. Get those photos, right, Wolfie?
Yeah, I've got some good stuff on there, to help with the podcast.
Folks, if you can't get out to a show to meet Wolfie D, there's nothing like that, especially for the fans of PG-13 and Wolfie D. And before we go, you can always find me, your host, Jimmy Street, at James Rock Street on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
And hey, Jimmy, before we go real quick, I just want to add in there, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate, first of all, the work you've done for this podcast. You have worked your butt off. Secondly, the people that are liking the page. Beyond that, even more, is the people that are listening, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, and remember, guys, the podcast drops a new episode every Monday at noon, and our past episodes are streaming now on demand on all major podcast formats. Thanks again.
I got a cap for your dome.
He got a cap for your dome.
I got a cap for your dome.
He got a cap for your dome.
He got a cap
for your dome.
And here we go. The original white boy that came out sagging, not bragging, don't be hating, cause I'm spitting the truth. Still livin' in color. Bum rush your mother, utilize a hubcap, unlike any other. Back in the day, I was NOD, and I was P to the G, plus the 1 and the 3. In case you forgot, they call me Wolfie D. Been cloned and copied so many times, tired of suckers taking credit for what is mine. You know who you are without me name dropping. Wrestling's first white boy coming out hip hopping. Been doing it like this since 92. Laid low for a while and you thought I was through. Listen real close to these rhymes that I've injected. This shit's so sick it makes your ears get infected. Mad skills, no faking, there is no one great. Cause I'm bringing more folks than Obi-Wan or Vader. Not here to play games, so you better beware. You don't like me, so what? I really don't care. Like time I keep ticking and I can't be stopped. You sucker step to the side unless you wanna get dropped. With my finish, I'll straight knock you out. Please allow me to tell you what it's all about. I'm gonna wind it up, then I'm driving it home. It's Wolfie D, baby. I got a cap for your dome. I got a cap for your dome.
He got a cap for your dome. He got a cap for your dome.
This has been a James Rock Street production.